Before there were borders, before roads, there was wonder and the need to understand where we stood. The earliest maps weren't on paper, they were scratched into cave walls, even bones, hunters charting rivers, stars, survival. Ancient Babylonians used clay to depict a circular world surrounded by ocean. The age of exploration, maps fuel ambition, seas are charted, dragons are drawn where certainty ends. The 18th and 19th century, precision takes over, borders sharpen, cities grow, maps become tools of power, trade. The 20th century brings air routes, moon landings, maps guide decisions that change history. Today, satellites watch from space, data moves in real time.
It's really one of those fields that is sort of secretly running the world.
If that is true, that maps run the world, then the center of it might just be here in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. After all, Andrew Middleton followed the highways and byways cross-country from his home in Oakland, California, after an offer he just couldn't refuse.
Older gentleman who was interested in retiring, and he said, if you send me an email that's particularly persuasive, I will give you my not particularly profitable map store.
Sometimes you just have to trust where the map of your life unfolds. The Map Center had been around since the 1950s, but was heading in the wrong direction.
I didn't buy it. It was given to me. I still overpaid. It's kind of the dream.
In a world where everything fits in your pocket, why would anyone move across the country to save a place built on paper?
I don't really think of navigation apps on phones to be a competitor. I don't sell information. I sell a good story. I sell a feeling. I sell an experience. I sell a good time that you can come to this place and you can discover something new. Giant maps of Africa.
A treasure trove, ocean charts, street maps, atlases, globes, each one a doorway to somewhere else. From maps you can see to maps you can feel.
This is a Braille map, and it's a demonstration of a neighborhood in San Francisco. This is hand-drawn.
Wow, incredible.
This is Providence. What would a map look like from an indigenous perspective? It's rotated is because many indigenous people orient themselves to the rising sun rather than to north up.
There is no end to the creative takes. After all, they offer perspective, even if it is what if? What if every glacier melted? What if coastlines rewrote themselves?
This map is sort of a satire. He took the old 1950s Shell gas station road maps and he added the sea level rise if every glacier on Earth melted. So Boston is in struggle town over here. Worcester's doing just fine.
Oceanfront property.
The beach comes to you.
Okay.
Interestingly, one small dot of land on Martha's Vineyard survives, a map that might just double as an investment strategy. Some maps leave you wondering, how did that end up here?
This map was made by the Soviet Union.
A map of New York drawn by Soviet hands.
They had a lot of people on the ground, probably a lot more than would make any of us comfortable.
So technically this is still what?
It's still a state secret. The Russian government does not love that these are out in the world. They don't like that they were leaked. And if you bring one of these on your vacation to Russia, you may end up arrested.
Vacation to Russia also not on my list.
But if you want to plan a vacation guided by interesting landmarks, they have those too.
It's context, and it's also, I think, an invitation to adventure. Google will tell you the best way to get to a place, but it's not going to pleasantly distract you with something really cool along the way.
Middleton, a former geospatial data analyst, still dabbles in making maps. But then again, if you think about it, we all are map makers, in some sense.
Every service that you consume throughout the day at some point has some kind of logistic. It may not look like a map. It may not be like, your classic eightfold in the glove compartment, but it's still a map if it's, just a spreadsheet. I think a map is really just a metaphor, a way of making analogy that we can understand that summarizes something about the world.
And the Map Center in Pawtucket offers quiet hours during the workday, a chance to explore or reflect or just sit among the maps and get a little bit of your own work done.
Well, people ask us all the time where we get our story ideas from, and really all over. And for Nicole, this particular one came to her when someone approached her at an event with a book of vinyl records, each one featuring a different map. And just like that, the idea was born.